Good morning, you're on the road with Norm. Storm clouds are brewing, but we're at Chanute Air Force Base in sunny California otherwise. And they got themselves a B58 Hustler. They've been assembling it for about 2 years. I've been here a couple times and I see more and more of it together. They're almost done. I see 2 more engines to go on. I punched up the number into my favorite website, Aerial Visuals. And here's what they got to say about this one. This is a Convair B58 Hustler. The exact model is a GRB-58A Hustler. It is serial number 55-0666, built for the United States Air Force. This aircraft was constructed in March of 1958 as a YB-58A-CF by Consolidated at Fort Worth, Texas. March 20th of 1958, she had her first flight. And she used GE engine J79-GE5 engines on the test aircraft using a special centerline pod. It's missing its pod. You see how the belly is so flat right now? There's something really big that's supposed to go there. On November 8th of 1958, she flew at 32 minutes sustaining Mach 2 with the JY79-GE5 engines. On April 29th of 1969, taken on strength with the United States Air Force with the serial number 55-0666. On the 1st of May 1959, it was converted to a YRB-58A and retained by Convair for use as a test and evaluation aircraft. On the 16th of August 1962, it made the longest B-58 early test program flight of 11 hours and 15 minutes. Wow, I wonder how many refuelings. Probably 8. Do I feel rain? Excellent. In November of 1962, it was transferred to the 65 10th Operational Maintenance Squadron, the Air Force Systems Command at Edwards Air Force Base, California. Well, that's flight test over there. May of 1964, transferred to the 3345th Maintenance and Support Group in Chanute Air Force Base, Illinois. May of 1965, redesignated as a GRB-58A. In 1967, retired, struck off strength charge from the United States Air Force, transferred to museum status at Wright Field, Dayton, Ohio. In 1993, it was placed on display at the Chanute Air Museum in Chanute Air Force Base, formerly in Rantoul, Illinois. That museum had to shut down, but there's some great pictures of it in there, on this website, Aerial Visuals. It's got pictures of it in there when it was near new. The thing only flew in service for about 10 years. And it was different markings were applied to it. It got the markings of an aircraft, Greased Lightning 61-2059. And that is the aircraft. They did that because Greased Lightning set a record that was kind of famous at the time. It was a B-58A, which flew non-stop, air refueled from Tokyo to London in 8 hours and 35 minutes. Probably some kind of a world record at the time. Beautiful pictures of it in here, taken in 2013 in the Chanute Air Museum that has been closed down. When that museum closed down, the assets, Air Force assets, got redistributed, and Castle made the application to go get it. And they did. Great pictures of it somebody put in here from April 2013. So, Chanute Museum closed on October 31st of 2015. This aircraft, from a period of time, August 18th of 2017, it was transported by ground, so it got taken apart, and it was transported by ground here to here. Castle Air Museum in Atwater, California. So people were able to start looking at the pieces of it behind this fence from 2017 on. They've been building it ever since. Wow, they need some help. We need to put a team together and help these guys. I just talked to the fellas that restore this stuff, and they told me the reason there's no one working on this airplane is because in the summer it's too hot to touch the aluminum. So this aircraft gets worked on in the winter. And it has had groups of different people working on it. When it was taken apart, they didn't put the hardware with the aircraft, so they're having trouble putting it together. They're using other hardware to put on. There are no engines inside the pods. You know, you can see right into the two right here. You see right through these pods. So they're quite a bit lighter than if they had engines. That nose gear framing looks really cool. To be honest with you, it doesn't look super strong, the way the main shaft just kind of ends, but I suppose it is. Oh, the last picture they got in it here, the nose isn't in it. So we're going to update this website. We'll take some pictures and update it. I'll read from Wikipedia. It's got a pretty good thing on it. The B58 was developed during the 1950s for the United States Air Force Strategic Air Command. To achieve the high speeds desired, Convair chose a delta wing design used by contemporary interceptors such as the Convair F-102. So they kind of had the delta wing technology. The bomber is powered by 4 General Electric J-79 engines in underwing pods. It has no bomb bay. It carried a single nuclear weapon plus fuel in a combination bomb fuel pod underneath the fuselage. Later, 4 external hardpoints were added, enabling it to carry up to 5 weapons. The B-58 entered service in March of 1960 and flew for a decade with 2 SAC bomb wings, the 43rd Bombardment Wing and the 305th Bombardment Wing. It was considered difficult to fly, imposing a high workload upon its 3-man crews. The crew of 3 sat in a row. They sat in line on the aircraft centerline in 3 separate cockpits. Very unique for that. And each of the landing gear have 8 tires on each of the mains. There's 8 tires on each gear. The B-58 was designed to fly at high altitudes and supersonic speeds to avoid Soviet interceptors, but with the Soviet introduction of high-altitude surface-to-air missiles, the B-58 was forced to adopt a low-level penetration role that severely limited its range and strategic value. It was never used to deliver conventional bombs. The B-58 was substantially more expensive to operate than other bombers, such as the Boeing B-52 Stratofortress, that required more frequent aerial refueling. The B-58 also suffered from a high rate of accidental losses. These factors resulted in a relatively brief operational career of 10 years. The B-58 was succeeded in its role by the smaller swing-wing FB-111 Aardvark. Totally beautiful airplane though. Only in service for 10 years, but they got a lot of technology out of it. The J-79 engine was used in a whole bunch of different planes. It was the best and most powerful engine of the time. Everything they did advanced them. You can see the 3 cockpits here now. The opening levers of the rear 2 are they're in the open position right now. You can grab those levers, I think, and lift up the cockpits. So each engine is in its own pod, and you can see where the pods mount on this outer section here because the pod's not on it. That's where the engine pod mounts. You can see the carry-through bolt at the front there, one big bolt. Looks like there's another bolt in the middle and another at the back. Looks like it gets held on by, oh, they all go all the way through. I see that. 3 bolts hold the pod on. That's what it looks like to me. 3 bolts. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. I would love to see that wing with the skin off of it, all the structure. So the flight control surfaces, I think, are stacked up on the ground right here, still to be put on. The tail of this aircraft has a few bumps in it, which are undoubtedly sensors. I suppose one of these things is ejects, and there's a parachute in one of these things maybe. Because I'm pretty sure this aircraft uses parachutes to land, slow down on the runway. Here's a good view of the 8 tires on each landing gear. And I wonder if they have a pod for this airplane. I don't see any around here. All the landing gear is so different looking on this airplane, the way the posts of the part that extends is completely supported by a bunch of truss. I guess that forward pole on the main landing gear is pretty important. Well, our sun has gone away and storm clouds are brewing here. We'll be hanging out under the wing of the Vulcan here in a minute.